We're going to finish the utility shed now. So this is the third round. This is where we finished the utility shed in the second round, where we put in an interior wall, some doors and windows, did a lot more dimensioning. And that's really the only new thing that we added in the second round. The third round, we're not going to add anything new to our actual shed itself. What we're going to do is we're going to put in a wall section. So we're going to kind of do a cut through the wall and show it on our drawing plan for both an exterior and interior wall, as well as add some features around the exterior of our shed, such as the actual site. Right now it's just kind of floating out in the middle of nowhere, floating in the middle space, so put in some grass and some trees and things of that nature. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and put in the wall section. So if you go to the first floor plan, what you do is you go to the house, and for I think probably the first time, we're going to be switching to a new tab here. So we go to the view tab here. You see where it says section. You click on that. And I'm just going to cut my section through here. You can cut your section through any part of the exterior wall. Make sure it's the one with the siding, not with the one with the brick. So one of the three with the siding, doesn't matter which one or where exactly. You can do it down here. Really not that big of a deal where you choose to do it. All right, but when you zoom in here, you'll see this dotted line. That's how far the section box is looking out. So it's going to start from here and look this direction out here. So you'll see that it's picking up part of this interior wall, which is kind of a problem. I'll show you that before I fix it, or what that means before I fix it. So I go over here into my project browser, down to sections. You see it has a plus sign now. There's my first section. All right, so if I click on it, this is the section through the wall. Might not look like a whole lot just yet. And tell you what, I'm not a big fan of this because everything's kind of facing this direction, which is like towards these words over here. So I'm actually going to right click, delete this. There's that delete. Come back here, and I want it to go the other direction. All right. So there we go. All right. And then, so this overlaps with that 6 foot dimension there. Not a big fan of that. So I'm going to move these dimensions out a little bit just so I can see my text a little bit more clearly. Let's see. Yep. All right, so there we have it. Let's go back to my drawing plan just to make sure this works the way I want to. Making sure it doesn't run into down here. This line's covered up a little bit now, so I can drag that down a little bit. All right, so we're all good now. So go back to my first floor plan. So that's the section where I cut the wall through. If I click on the section box again, you see how it's going all the way out to here. So that's going to be an issue. We're going to clean that up, but we're going to take a second to do it. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I click on the plus sign, double click here. So I'm going to increase this section box a little bit. I don't need it to go so far down below the floor or so far up above the ceiling. That's it. I don't need to see the section box. And then I want to see all the fine detail. All right. So there we have it. There's our wall section. So now we're going to label everything. It's actually looking better than I thought it was going to look. What I was going to say, what I thought was going to happen is I thought we were going to see possibly the exterior of this house. The way to fix that is just to draw that in a little bit. We're not seeing it, so it's really not that big of a deal. So we'll just kind of go with what we have. And that's, yeah, that's it. So let's go back here, click on that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to annotate and put in labels for all the different materials that we have for the exterior wall section. All right, before we get started there, let's go ahead and go back here. So you see all of our drawings are currently 3/16 of an inch equals a foot. I'm going to make some space in the middle of my drawing here for my wall section. So I'm going to kind of drag stuff over a little bit. Again, making sure that everything is still nice and easily visible. None of these marks are inside of my title block. I'm going to drag these over to right a little bit. And making sure none of the text goes off the screen. Drag that over a little bit. So now I've got some big open space here in the middle for my sections. So I'm going to drag my, oops, that's the wrong thing. Drag my section here. And that's really small compared to the rest of them. So that's too small. I'm going to change that. So go back here, change the scale. It was 3/16. I want to make it quite a bit bigger. So 3/8 of an inch equals a foot. See how the text gets a lot smaller. Let's try it again. Let's see, drag it out. That looks a lot more comparable in size to the drawings. All right, so again, I don't need it to be, with the text it might go as far out, we'll see. And then we're gonna have a second section. It's gonna be the interior wall section. So I'm gonna cut one across the interior wall here. So let's see, another section. All right, I'm gonna back that up a little bit. Right there, bring that in so it only covers the wall that I want. Don't need to be so wide there. There. All right. And you see how this auto populates with numbers as soon as I dragged it onto my A101 sheet. And so you'll see that the other section does the same. I'm going to rename this section. The first section I did, oops, that's the first section. It's the exterior wall, so I'm going to rename it. Let's see, rename exterior wall section. And this one's going, the second one I did is going to be the interior wall section. Okay, and let's see the interior wall section. Again, there's a lot of stuff here I don't need to see. The wall only goes up to the ceiling height. It doesn't go up any higher. I don't need to see any of that. I want to see all the fine detail. These lines don't need to extend quite as far out. Just like over here, oops. These lines don't need to extend quite as far out. I can drag those in. Okay. And then same thing, I'm going to change the scale here to, it's 3/16 currently. I'll do 3/8 of an inch. Drag the text in a bit. Okay. Let's double check the text here. Okay, let's drag it a little closer. Just tighten things up on my drawing sheet. Let's see, go back to my drawing sheet now. All right, that looks good. And then here's my interior. Let's see if this fits. Put it right here. All right, that's a little, all right, so I have room up top here. Drag that up a little bit. Still a little crowded, a little more crowded than I want it to be. Drag it up a little further. All right, that makes it look a bit better. All right, so then I'm gonna see that box around here. That's the view box. I can turn that off. So that's the, what's it called? The show the crop region. All right, so now let's start labeling. So go back to exterior wall section. I'm gonna go from the bottom to the top and then also from the outside to the inside. All right, one thing that's not shown here, you see the studs the way they are, that's fine. One thing that, we're gonna consider this is, a lot like an actual house. We wanna put insulation in here. So if we go to annotate, the annotate tab, there's insulation. Click on insulation. By default, yours should probably be 3.5, right? Because that's the typical width of a stud, so 3.5 inches by default. And we're going to put that from the center on up. You see that it kind of does a squiggly pattern. And those of you done AutoCAD, there's a lot of settings you have to do to make that happen. One good thing about Revit is it just knows how to do it in general. All right, so there's our insulation. Don't need to go all the way up, just part of the way. For our walls, and we're putting in our ceilings too. Let's just double check. If we click on our ceilings are 8-inch, so 2x8s are really about 7.25. So if we go back to annotate insulation and we change this to 7.25 inches, 7.25. It's a little much. We'll see. Try to put it a little lower still. 2.0. All right, see that fits real nice. If we just try to track that up there, let's see. There we go. And that's showing the insulation coming out of the ceiling. That's not realistic. So we'll back that up a little bit. There we go. So now it's all in. So that's all the stuff that we need. All right. So starting from the bottom where the floor is, what we're going to do is we're going to put in some text, and we're going to want the leader to be a 2-segment leader. So it's going to have a diagonal segment as well as a horizontal segment. And make sure you go over here and select the 30 seconds Arial text. All right. Otherwise, the 1/4 one that's standard is going to be too large. So 3 30-second. And then, so I'm just going to start. This is a 4-inch wide concrete. So that's just, a lot of this is just going to be typing 4-inch poured concrete. And it auto adjusts the right-hand tab here. All right, so that's it for the floor. Nothing else special about the floor. Next thing is the outer material of the exterior wall. You should line it up here so that all of the tabs we do, try to make them about parallel here. They line up right here and then here, and that is 1/2-inch vinyl siding. So you see, it's gonna look really nice when it's all vertically aligned. Relatively, it doesn't need to be exactly parallel lines, but relatively parallel lines, especially no lines overlapping. That's the one big thing. That's why we're working our way from outside to inside. All right, this border here represents where the house wrap is. Remember, that's that your Tyvek. So we call that house wrap. Underneath the house wrap, we have sheathing. That's like your, we're going to say 1/2-inch OSB sheathing. You see it's all lining up nice and vertically. So under the sheathing, that's when we have inside here, there's 2 materials. So the kind of squiggly back and forth lines, that is your R13 batt insulation. We'll go over more about what that R13 means, as well as batt. We've talked about that a little bit. Kind of mixed in there with the batt insulation, or kind of between the insulation, or kind of what the insulation is between, whatever, however you want to think about it, is your 2x4 studs, your wood studs. All right, on the inside of the wood studs, that's when you have your vapor barrier. And then on the inside of the vapor barrier, that's where you have your finish gypsum wallboard, 1/2-inch gypsum wallboard. Which, you know, most people will call just drywall. All right, so there's your floor as well as your wall section. The last thing we're going to do is also going to talk about the roof. Just because of the drawing sheet here, the way we have it way up against the top here, normally I would come down on it, and I'll try to come down on it a little bit, but you'll see we're going to run out of vertical space a bit, and we're going to have to move this whole drawing over a little bit. You see it's overlapping on the, it was overlapping right here, so we want to move that over a little bit. All right, so now we're going to label the top. So go back again to the first floor plan. It's not the first floor plan, the exterior wall section. And we're going to label the roof again from outside in. And this time we're going to work our way from top to bottom. All right, so if you're not sure what the roof section looks like, so we didn't actually create this, you click on it, it shows up a little bit here. Remember, you can go edit type, edit the structure, and it goes asphalt shingle, plywood sheathing, and they call it 7.5, but really it's about 7.25. Your joists, your rafters, your 2x8 rafters. All right. One thing that's not really shown here is underneath your asphalt shingles, above your plywood sheathing, you have your roofing felt. It's your again your almost like your house wrap, but on a roof. All right. So let's go ahead and label that. So we're going to annotate text. So the topmost layer, that's your asphalt shingles. Again, let's try to line everything up. Let's see how we did, if that's too high or not. Let's go back here. Nope, fits just right on our drawing sheet, so we're good. So there's our asphalt shingles. The layer underneath of that will be our house wrap. Or not our house wrap, our roofing felt. Underneath the roofing felt, you have your plywood sheathing. I think they actually used 5/8 plywood sheathing. When we looked at the structure, 5/8 plywood sheathing. And then underneath that, that's where you have your 2x8 roof rafters. And you see that the insulation is much thicker here, so therefore it's a higher R value, a higher insulation or higher resistance value. You could think of kind of R value as a resistance to heat loss. So it's like an R, closer to an R30. Again, that insulation. All right, and that is the wall section for the exterior wall, including the floor and ceiling. Last thing we need to do is do a wall section for an interior wall. We've already done the 4-inch concrete floor. We don't need to do that again. And the interior walls are much simpler than the exterior walls. Same idea still, though. We have our 1/2 inch gypsum wall board. Underneath that, we have our 2x4 wood stud. And then on the other side, we have, again, 1/2 inch gypsum wall board. And that's it for the interior. The interior is much easier. All right, so we have our interior wall. Let's slide that over a little bit. Okay. Our interior wall section, our exterior wall section. The last thing we need to do is put in a slope triangle here, or yeah, to like annotate the roof. What the spot slope is on the roof. So if you click that right there, spot slope. This isn't showing exactly what I wanted. I want it to be a 512, but I wanted to show as a triangle. And that's not showing the way I wanted it to. So let's try that again. Choose spot triangle. So instead of arrow, we show triangle. And it's going on the underside. I want them above that. So I want the triangle on the other side. So if we place the triangle and then you see that you can kind of just slide it up, that will work. But again, we want to move it a little bit because it's not quite in the right place. It's overlapping with some other stuff. We can move the arrows a little bit. I can move these arrows down, give them a little more space to work. Okay. And then we can also shrink possibly this. Oops, undo that. All right, and let's see if that all still shows up correctly on the man. All right, let's see. We're a little high with that number 1 there, so I'm gonna have to readjust a few things. Let's, for example, bring this up, bring this whole drawing down a little bit. That allows me to bring this one down a little bit. This one's going a little too far right, so try that back. There we go. So we've got our exterior wall section with our roof pitch here, all of our parts identified. All right, so you also are seeing, like, I want my section arrows to show up on my floor plan, but I don't want them to show up on my elevations. So to do that, I go to this is my east elevation, my north elevation. So I'm going to click on my east elevation, and I'm going to see this, and I don't want it to show, so I right click on it, or sorry, I select it, right click on it, and I say hide in view. Elements will turn off just as one element. Category will turn off everything that's a section. So if I have multiple one of these, I click on category, and it doesn't delete it. It just stops showing it. So again, do that on the north. Click on it, right click. Oops, didn't work. Click on it, right click, hide in view, element. All right, so go back to my drawing sheet. All right, I'm not seeing those sections anymore. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of go a little more fancy with the 3D view. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in, right now, even if we do the like consistent colors or realistic, you see it's floating up in the middle of space here. What we're going to do is we're going to put in some grassy area and a few trees to show that Revit can do more than just the building. It can do the exterior as well. So you go to the floor plan site, and so there's the top of our house. So again, another new tab up here, massing and site. We can actually put in a topographic surface. So currently our floor is at the elevation 0, which is just what it's at. So we can put in a few dots, and those are like point elevations or spot elevations, like what a surveyor would mark. So going around the house, or around the shed, that's the elevation my shed is at. And so then I can slope down a little bit from there. So like negative 0.5 feet to negative 6 inches. You know, you always want it sloping away from your structure. That way you're not flooding the structure. And then after that, we can raise it up a little bit, 1 foot. And you'll see some, you know, it's just doing a lot of, like these are like little kind of swales or berms even. And we can go maybe up to 2 foot in a few places. You know, I'm just kind of choosing random numbers now, negative 2 feet. Let's just kind of see what happens. Again, just putting in some random elevations just for the fun of it at this point. All right, click the green checkbox. So now we have a topographic surface. If we click on it, and then we change the material, because we never set a material, we're going to kind of just make it a grassy surface. So in our materials, we can scroll down, and you'll see there's nothing for grass, but there is something for earth. So that would be like bare dirt, like a brown color. So you can change that to like a greenish color, kind of like a grass color. But you'll see. So first of all, the appearance. Oops, I didn't want to change earth itself. I should have left it. Here, cancel. Let's try that again. Let's go back to earth. Let's see. Yeah, okay, earth. So we always want to duplicate it, right? You don't want to actually change it. So duplicate selected material, change it to grass. Graphics. Oops. Oh, I've already. Yeah, I'm going to call it grass 1 just because I've already done this. I forgot when I was getting prepared. And so change it to green. Okay, and appearance. Change out the kind of dirt looking stuff. Go to the appearance library, site work. Scroll down. You can choose any one of these. Thick grass, short grass, generic, high quality. I'll just, whatever. It's high quality. Let's see how high quality it is. Click apply. Okay. Right, you're not going to see it in site, but once you go to 3D view, and we are in realistic. There we go. There's our realistic looking grass. If you want to see more of it, go to your show crop region, click on it, and you can now kind of see more around your site. And again, we only made a certain area, nothing too huge, but there's our shed sitting on the site. One thing is if you want to see inside of this 3D view, you can go over here in your properties browser, scroll down, and click on the section box, zoom out quite a bit. This is the box that you could that we were actually seeing here. And so if you wanted to kind of look down into it and see what's going on inside the shed, you can kind of bring it down. So that way, again, the shed, the whole roof and everything is still there, but we're kind of seeing inside. You see how the grass is kind of inside the shed? Well, that's because we need to cut out what would be our building pad. All right, so again, go back to the first floor plan. Yep, always save. And in the masking and site, we want to make a building pad. All right, so you want to make a building pad inside where the floor is. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line, and we're going to remember the outside edge of the wall is kind of inside of, like, the roof does an overhang, a 1 foot overhang. So you got to find, it takes some guesswork. But here's an endpoint, and then I'm just going to trace around here to here, and kind of just hoping with I'm pretty certain this is about a 1 foot offset from the outside edge of the house to the inside of the wall. And so what that does is that just cuts away the grass. So now if I go back to my 3D view, now I don't have any more grass inside. It kind of cut it all away. I can kind of zoom underneath, and you see that all got, a lot of the grass got chopped away there. All right, that's all just my concrete floor. All right, and then I can raise the section box back up. I can turn the section box off, and then bring my crop region back into focus. Actually, the very last thing we're going to do, we're going to actually bring that crop region back out. Go back to masking the site, put on a site component, and you can load a whole bunch more. Go out and look for them, but we can actually put in trees and shrubs and stuff of that nature. Yeah, so we can place some trees and whatever you'd like around the outside of your, different trees too. It's up to you. Some larger ones, maybe one large one there in the back. All right, so looks good. Again, we're not going to really show too much of this just because when we crop it back down so that it'll fit on our drawing sheet, this is all we're actually going to see on our drawing sheet, but you can still see some good stuff. All right, let's see what it looks like on a drawing sheet first. Does it still fit? Yep, it still fits. And so, funny enough, I'm actually not seeing anything on my plans for my north and my south, my north and my east. Let me go back and just do this again, just in case you possibly are seeing something. So what I mean by that is if I put a tree like right here, like right behind my house, if I do that, and then I go to my plan here. Oh, that's I remember now. I turned them off earlier, so if I go back to east, you're not going to have to do this. But let's see, unhide and view category. All right, go back and then turn that off. North, unhide and view category. All right. My apologies. So you might be seeing, when you go here, all the trees now blocking your east view and your north view. So you don't want that to happen, even though you have it showing up in your 3D view, which again, I need to go back to my 3D view hit the home view because that's the view I want to actually show up. All right, didn't show up the way I wanted it. I gotta scroll down. There we go, and then chop that down. All right, turn off the section box. Let's see. Now go back to east. So what you do is you click on the tree. It doesn't need to, it can be the black and white, and then you hide and view category. So that hides all the trees at the same time. And go to north, same thing. Click on one tree, right click, hide and view category, gets rid of all of them. And now we have our final drawing. Something got shifted here, so I'll just shift it back up. That line got shifted. Okay, so there's my drawing plan. Again, I've got my north side view, east side view, first floor plan, all dimensioned, my 2 wall sections, my 3D view. All looks good. So now I'm going to print it. So remember, when you print something, you click on the print icon, change it to Adobe PDF, double check the properties. It should be smallest file size, letter, should actually be 11 by 17, say okay. Setup, so it should be not tabloid, but 11 by 17, low. And if you actually want this 3D view to show up in color, you can change it from black lines to color. And everything else should be okay. But again, if you don't click preview, it's not going to work. It's just the PDF's never going to generate. So you have to click preview. Takes a little while because, especially with this 3D view here. Now click print and OK. And it might, okay, you still have to actually save it. So CEA Utility Shed V3 or part 3. And say OK, save. And it might bog down a little bit, especially with the color. It's not going to print as fast, but it still should print. And submit it. That's your third and final version of the shed.